going to do a short introduction. Zauraiz is a DAAD scholar and Erasmus Mundus awardee, and he is currently pursuing his MSc in International Health in Heidelberg University in Germany. His expertise lies in non-communicable diseases, mental health, and tobacco control. We're very happy to have you with us here today, Zauraiz, and we're excited to hear about your lecture in global health, global education opportunities in public health. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will just try to share my slides. Can you hear me good?
Yes, we can hear you perfect. Thank you.
Okay. You see the slides now?
Yes, we can see them. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me, first of all. It's nice to be here. Yeah, the title of my presentation was supposed to be something related to education in public health. So I thought I would just go through what's out there in terms of public health education, in terms of scholarships, and then also try to go through some details about specifically DAAD and Erasmus, because I have been through that process before. So yeah, my name is Zauraiz again, and a little bit of my background. I did my bachelor's in psychology from International Islamic University. And after that, I started working in global health research, implementation research, mostly around mental and physical multimorbidity, mental health, tobacco control, things like that. And yeah, I mean, this is where I really started getting into global health and public health, because like you see, my background was in psychology, and I did not have really any experience in public health or global health, but this was the kind of turning point in my career. So yeah, and then after working in global health research for almost 2 years, I was offered 2 scholarships. So I was offered DAAD scholarship to do this MSc in international health here in Germany, and I was also offered Erasmus Mundus scholarship for a degree which is called a European Masters in Public Health. And then I chose this one, and now I'm here doing my master's in international health from Heidelberg University. So yeah, I mean, to start with, I would just like to go through some of the educational streams in public health. And I really want to go through them because I think this is important, because especially when you're trying to do a master's after your bachelor's degree, whether it be a medical degree or any health related degree, there are a lot of options, which I think it is important to know all of these options before making a decision, because most of the people, when they are looking for maybe some postgraduate education in public health, they only think about public health. But this is not the case, actually. You have a lot of options to do your, for example, master's, because for the purpose of this presentation, I will mostly be focusing on masters. But yeah, so public health is one of the many streams that you can get your training into. But there's also some other more emerging fields like global health or international health, which is my major now. There's also a lot of programs in epidemiology and biostatistics. There's a lot of programs in health policy and management, which is also as important. Now there's also a little bit more focus on health economics, especially in Pakistan, because health economics is a huge deal on a global scale, and there are very good master programs in health economics. And now we also see a lot of master level programs in health data science, which is how you can use data science in public health in general, and how you can use, let's say, big data to to solve public health problems. There's also a lot of focus on environmental health and One Health. This concept of One Health is also now a huge deal on a global scale, because we just saw COVID-19, which is one of the examples of how animal health might be related to human health. We see a lot of zoonotic diseases. We see climate change and its impact on public health. There's a lot of floods in Pakistan, and with each flood, there comes a lot of infectious diseases, and this has a lot of implications, not just in Pakistan, but also in other countries, especially in the global south. But yeah, and also there's a lot of degrees and programs in sexual and reproductive health. And finally, there's also a growing number of programs in health services research, which is focused more on how you how you can do research to improve health services and health systems. For example, in low resource settings such as Pakistan. So you see here, there's a lot of streams that you can go into. It's not just public health. When we say public health, it's mostly we are talking about like MPH, which is the Masters of Public Health. But I mean, for most of the opportunities out there, the world is getting very specific in terms of your education and training. So yes, it's very good to have a master's in public health, but there's a lot of options out there, and you should always be open to choosing any one of them based on your own goals and your own uh, experience and everything. Yeah, and when it comes to scholarships, because that would be the focus of my presentation, there are a lot of different types of scholarships. So mostly there's these educational scholarships on bachelor's levels and master's levels and doctoral levels. But yeah, like I said, I'll mostly be focusing on master's. And but in addition to these educational scholarships, there are also some practical scholarships, which I won't be covering in this presentation. But I just want everyone to know about these, because uh, these are also very important, and they may be some type of short courses or fellowships in institutions, in universities, in public health organizations, and they may range from a few days to a few weeks, or in some cases, for example, CDC in the US has a lot of practical fellowships for 1 year or 2 years. So yeah, this is also an option which gives you more of an hands-on practical training in different fields within public health. So you can also look into that. But yeah, a little bit about educational scholarships. There are different types, like we saw at different levels. But even at, for example, master's levels, there's international scholarships like DAAD and Erasmus. There are also a lot of diversity and inclusion scholarships, which are focused on certain groups. For example, there are scholarships that focus on women only, and there are scholarships that focus on maybe certain groups. And the focus is really to uh, increase and enhance diversity and inclusion in big universities. And yeah, talking about universities, there are also university and other institutional scholarships. So for example, Johns Hopkins offers their own master's and PhD scholarships for all of their public health master's degrees. And you can also um, try to apply for them, but the problem is that these institutional scholarships are really competitive. Even though international scholarships are also competitive, but still, I think personally that institutional scholarships are even more competitive. But it's always good to apply and see and get the experience. And finally, there are also some master scholarships that focus on research. So they are called research scholarships, and these are very specific types of master degrees where you don't actually do any courses, so they are not taught degrees, they are research degrees, and for the 2 years of your master's you're only doing research. So this can also be an option if you're only interested in doing research and you don't want to take any taught courses, but they are very few in number, so there are not a lot. So yeah, there are some international scholarships that are very famous and also very competitive because they're famous and a lot of people apply, but this is the best opportunity for anyone in the world to get a fully funded scholarship, and all of these scholarships are fully funded. We already know some of them, like Fulbright is very famous. There's Chevening for UK. There's DAAD for Germany. There's this Erasmus Mundus joint master's degree, which we'll be talking about later. Also, there's Commonwealth Scholarship for the UK. There's Australian awards. And there's this Swedish Institute Scholarship for global professionals. I mean, these are just a few scholarships. In a few countries, there's a huge list of them. If you just go on Google and try to see, almost every country is offering some type of government scholarships for international students. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. So it's really, the options are really good. So yeah, a little bit of details about the DAAD scholarship. DAAD scholarship has a lot of different schemes for masters, for bachelors, for PhD, and even within masters, they have different schemes for different types of courses, different professionals, different regions, things like that. But the one that I want to focus on is called DAAD EPOS scholarship. And I think this is the only scholarship at master's level which offers public health masters for Pakistani students, because there are also some other master scholarships, but they are for different regions. So this is, I think, the most relevant for people from Pakistan. So the main idea of this scholarship is to give an opportunity to individuals from low and middle income countries to come to Germany and get their training in development related postgraduate degrees. So they focus a lot on development, and the focus really is to uh, build capacity of people living in LMICs or low and middle income countries and help them develop their own countries in different sectors. They have a focus on engineering and management, economics, and public health is one of their focuses. They open their applications somewhere in June, and the deadline is somewhere in October every year. And these application dates and deadlines vary from course to course, so I cannot give exact dates, but they are always available on their websites. Another thing for this scholarship is they only accept individuals who are living in or who are working in developing countries or low and middle income countries. So this is not for high income countries. Let's say the German students cannot apply for this scholarship, but other people from developing countries can. But this scholarship is not for recent graduates. It is for experienced professionals. So one of the requirements is that you have to have at least 2 years of working experience, relevant working experience in your field. It can be some kind of internship, or it can be, for example, in case of medical students, it can be house job that is also counted as experience. It can be research experience, like in my case, but you should have at least 2 years of work experience to be able to apply for this scholarship. And in the context of public health, they have 4 master's programs for public health students. The one that I am enrolled in is called International Health, and it's in Heidelberg. There's a very similar program which is also called MSc in International Health in Berlin. There's a program called Global Health in Bonn, and there's also one which is also a global health program, but it's focused a little more on urban settings, and this one is in Freiburg. So these are the 4 options that you can choose from. You can apply to a maximum of 3 programs. And yeah, all of these programs are really good. All of them focus on international/public health domain. So yeah, like I said, there's a very not very recent, but a growing trend towards global and international health. So yeah, I just want to make it clear here that I think it is not very intuitive to understand what's the difference between public health and global health or international health. So in short, public health mostly focuses on the health of communities, or at most it focuses on population health within one country. But the idea of global or international health is a little different from public health, because instead of focusing on small communities or individual countries, the focus is more on global issues or international issues, or in other words, public health issues that affect not just one country, but they are cross-border issues. So for example, COVID is a huge example of a global health issue. There's also a lot of other, for example, tobacco control or tobacco use, which was my research area, is also a global health issue, because although the prevalence and trends of tobacco use are different in every country, but the behavior of tobacco industry and the dominant tobacco industry, they are operating across countries, and so in a way it's a global issue, not just specific to one country or one community, for example. So this is the difference between international global health and public health. Yeah, so the application process for DAAD EPOS scholarship is very simple. Sorry, yeah, it's very simple. You only need to apply to the universities. You don't need to send separate applications to the DAAD commission, because the idea is that you have to shortlist a maximum of 3 programs. So these programs can be in the same university or in different university, that does not matter, but you can apply to a maximum of 3 programs, and you have to send an application for this program to the university directly. But one additional thing that you have to do is that you have to fill out a separate DAAD application form, and with your application to the university, you send this form as well, so that they know that you are applying not just for admission in the course, but you are also applying for the scholarship. So you will submit all the documents that are required by the university for application in the course, but you will also send this DAAD application form, so that they know that you're also applying for the scholarship. And each course has a limited number of scholarships that you can offer. For example, my course in International Health in Heidelberg can offer a maximum of 6 scholarships per cohort. So what they do is that they receive applications from the candidates. They go through all the applications, and then they make a list of candidates that they think are good candidates for the scholarship, and then they send this list to the DAAD commission, and it is kind of verified by the DAAD, and then they contact you and they tell you that we have received this application from the university and we need some additional documents to process your application. You don't need to write anything extra at this point. You just send them the same documents that you sent to the university, So the same letter of motivation, the same references, everything is the same, but all the documents that you had sent to the university before, you send it again to DAAD. After DAAD, commission contacts you themselves, because like I said, you don't have to send them anything unless they don't contact you. They will only contact you if the university shortlists you for the scholarship. And in most cases, once the university has shortlisted a candidate, it is almost 95%. um, I mean, it is 95% confirmed that they will get the scholarship. It's only in rare cases that they don't get the scholarship. It's because either they don't meet some requirements for the scholarship, or they don't have some documents that were required, things like that. But but it's most likely that they will get the scholarship if the university is recommending the student to DAAD. And so this is the process, which is, like I said, very simple, because you only apply to the university. And in some cases, the university will ask you for an interview, but in many cases, they just make the decision based on your application documents. So this is one of the reasons why the application documents are really important. For example, in my case, I did not have any interview, neither for DAAD and nor for Erasmus. My application was scored on the basis of my documents and whatever I had submitted, and there was no interview. But there can be interviews. It differs from course to course. Some universities have a requirement for an interview, so then you would need to prepare for that as well. But other than that, it's mostly what you submit to the university, and that is the most important thing that is counted when they're trying to come up with a list of candidates that they think are a good uh, candidate for the scholarship. About the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, so this is officially called the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree, and it is called a joint master's degree because here you have to study in at least 2 different universities for your master's program. And it can be as many as 6 universities in 2 years. I mean, you can have 1 semester in one university and another in another university, and then you can have your internship in completely different university. So this is why it's called a joint master's degree. Again, the application rounds open somewhere in October, and then they close in January. And even for this scholarship, the exact deadlines are very different for each program, but they are somewhere around from October to January. So you have to check which programs you're interested in and then see their deadlines and then plan your applications accordingly. So yeah, like I said, you have to study in at least not just 2 different universities, but 2 different European countries. So this Erasmus Mundus scholarship is funded by the European Commission. So in theory, you can study in any country in Europe, but each study master's program is offering some courses in certain. So yeah, so what I was saying is that for Erasmus Mundus scholarships, you have to study in at least 2 different European countries. For example, in my case, I was offered the first year of my uh, master's degree in Ireland, and the second year was in France. But I chose these 2 countries myself. I had an option of studying in 6 different countries, and Ireland and France was one of these 6 different countries. And most of the times, different countries offer different courses or modules. So, for example, if you're doing, let's say, a European Master in Public Health, if you study your first year in UK, it will be a little different. The content of the course will be a little different from, let's say, if you study your first year in Ireland. Similarly, for the second year, it's almost always a specialization. So for me, I had, like I said, 6 different options. And in the second year, each country had a different specialization. And for me, I liked the specialization courses in France. So I chose France as my second country. But this differs from course to course. And let's say if one course has 6 different options for your masters, the another course might have 4 options, but almost all of the courses will have at least 2 different options, because this is the requirement of the scholarship, that you have to study in at least 2 different countries. Yeah, and the focus of this scholarship, like I said, in the case of DAAD, the focus was the development of LMICs and to build capacity of individuals to help with this development in LMICs. But in case of Erasmus, the scholarship focus is more on academic and professional excellence of the candidates. So, the basis for their decision making about whether or not to award a scholarship to a candidate, it's not about what they have been doing to help with the development of a specific sector, for example, in our case, public health sector in their country, but the focus here is more on what are their academic achievements and their professional achievements. And this is very important for Erasmus. So even though they do not require any work experience, like in the case of DAAD, but the thing is, you cannot demonstrate your professional excellence if you do not have any work experience, or if you do not have any internships. So in any case, I would say you require some level of work experience or some level of internships in order to be able to compete in Erasmus as well. Obviously, you do require good academic achievements. You need to have a good CGPA, and you need to demonstrate some level of achievement in extracurricular activities, let's say. But I mean, it's not just one factor that they take into account. It's your complete profile. And even if you don't have good grades, but you have good internships or good work experience, that's still okay. But overall, you should demonstrate some level of academic and professional excellence in order to be able to have a good opportunity or a good chance to receive this scholarship. And here I have a list of a few relevant degrees within the Erasmus Mundus scholarship that are relevant to public health. The first one is the one that I applied to. It is called a European Master in Public Health, and it is focused mostly on European countries and their public health systems and the methods that they use in public health, which is very different from the other course that I'm doing in DAAD, because the focus of my course is more on low and middle income countries and how you can improve the public health infrastructure or public health systems and public health outcomes in low income countries and middle income countries. But for this European Masters in Public Health, the focus is more on in the European context. Then there's also another program or another degree, master's degree in infectious diseases in One Health. This is also a kind of global health context, because infectious diseases and One Health is very broad. And I think this is also a very good program. There's another program in public health in disasters, which focuses on mostly the public health context within disaster and emergency settings. And there are also a lot of other programs that I haven't listed, which are maybe not maybe not exactly public health, but they are very relevant for people in health sciences. But yeah, you can just go to their website and there's a course catalog. And if you look into that catalog, you can filter by fields, and you can look into medical degrees, and you can look into health and social sciences, whatever your interest is. And for Erasmus as well, the application process is not very complicated. In this case, you do not need to apply to the universities. So for example, my course, I had an option to study in 2 different universities, but I did not apply to any of those universities. I only applied to the joint master's degree program. So each of these programs, like if I go back to this slide, there are 3 degrees listed, and each of these degree has its own website. And you go to that website and then you apply directly for the program, but you do not need to apply separately for each university, even if you're studying in, let's say, 4 different universities in 2 years. So it is really very simple. You just apply to the program and they will go through your application. And in this case as well, they have a limited number of applications for each degree or each course. So some of the applicants will get a scholarship and the other applicants will be asked to pay for themselves if they want. But yeah, and the course coordinators, or I mean, the people who are working with the course, they decide who will get the scholarship and who will be getting admission without a scholarship. Because let's say there's no other body, like in case of DAAD scholarship, there's the DAAD commission, which goes through the application. But in this case, it's the course itself. They go through the application and they will decide who's getting the scholarship. I think this process is even simpler than DAAD, because in DAAD, they will contact you again and then you will give them all the documents. But in this case, it's not the case. You just apply to the program and that's it. So yeah, just a little bit of information about what I think are the most important documents. So first and foremost, it's the letter of motivation. I think it's the most important thing, which can make or break your application at any point. You can have the best profile, but if you don't have a good letter of motivation, I don't think there's any chances. So this is the thing which matters the most. And think of the letter of motivation as a tool that you can use to tell your story. So because you are already submitting your CV, they will know your educational background, they will know your professional background. You do not need to repeat all of that in the letter, in the LOM. But what you want to do is you want to tell them your story of how you decided to do what you did before this program, uh, before applying to this program, how you decided to apply for this program, what was your thinking behind this process, what are your future goals. So I mean, you have to tell them from the start that, let's say for example, when I was writing my letter of motivation, I started my story from my bachelor's, that I did my bachelor's in psychology, and then because I was interested in research, I did not practice as a psychologist, but I started uh, as a research assistant in a research group. And then I started working on global health projects. And this is where my interest in global health and international health developed. So I already had some experience in mental health from my bachelor's degree. And then I had some research experience in mental health, but the perspective changed for me, because from an individual perspective in psychology, because psychology is very individual, you have to deal with individual patients, but public health and global health is a population health science. So this is how my thinking changed and my interest developed in population health sciences. And I saw that even for mental health, there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of good work on population level and on cross-cultural level or global level. So, I mean, it will be different for each candidate. You will have to come up with your own story and convince them that uh, you are not applying to this program out of nowhere. You have some interest and you have to tell them how this interest developed and also how this program will help you in your future goals. So this is very important. Similarly, letters of reference are also very important. Most of the cases you write your own letters of reference and then you ask your professors to kind of sign them because they don't have enough time. I mean, you can debate if it's a good practice or not, but it is what it is. It is really difficult to get letters of reference from your professors. So start early. You can get into a huge trouble if you are continuously following up with them for 1 month and your deadline is approaching and they are not giving you the letters. So the best idea is to ask your professor if they can write a letter for you, but also offer them that I can also write a letter, and then you can go through it and you can check if it's okay. You can edit it if you want, and then you can sign it for me. So that's how you go about it. And again, in the letters of reference, you have to so the professors or yeah, one more thing, the letters of reference can be academic and they can also be professional. So in most cases, like for example, for DAAD, they require one academic letter from your previous university and one professional letter from your workplace. And you have to come up with two different stories, like in letter of motivation, because references are a tool where you can prove that what you have been doing uh, is, I mean, it is a demonstrated proof, because uh, one thing in scholarship applications is that they require some things from you. And if you say that I have this thing, it's not enough. You have to demonstrate it, that you have it. For example, let's say they are talking about a skill in data analysis. If you say that in your CV that I have I have, for example, skill in this data analysis software. For them, it is not enough. You have to demonstrate either from your work experience that you used this software for this purpose, or in your letters of reference, for example, from your professional letter, you can have something that this person did this. So this is now demonstrated. This is an evidence that what you claim is true. So this is the whole idea of letters of reference in academic context as well as in professional context. Also, in some cases, they do require research proposal, which can be different from course to course. Some courses require a research proposal, some don't. It is mostly not a huge document. They require maybe 2 to 6 pages of a proposal. And it is also not necessary that if you are submitting a research proposal, you will be working on the same project for your thesis, because this is more of a way for them to judge you, or what kind of thinking do you have. And here as well, you can do a lot of stuff. You can because if you submit a good proposal, it reflects a good academic thinking. And this is mostly relevant to academic degrees. The master's degrees that focus on industrial or professional development, they do not focus a lot on research proposals. So yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, you will come across some of the degrees that do require research proposal. And finally, I think English language proficiency is very important, because many people are looking for scholarships, but they do not want to maybe take IELTS, let's say. But I think this is a huge opportunity that people miss, because once you have a language proficiency certificate, whether it be IELTS or TOEFL or whatever, you open for yourself a lot of opportunities, because most of the international scholarships, they require a letter, they require English proficiency letter of some form. So I think personally you need to have it even before you start applying or start looking for scholarships. You need to have this. And agree that it can be a challenge sometimes, but I mean, the rewards are really good if you have it. So two things that I think personally every applicant should focus on in all of their documents, in their interviews, in their letters of motivation, and whatsoever. That these two things are, first of all, relevance. So I will say that it is the most important thing. Like I said before, you can have the best profile, you can have the best grades, you can have the best internship, but if all of your experience and all of your qualifications are not relevant to the program you're applying to, then it's of no use. They will not give you the scholarship, because even though you are 10 out of 10, you are not relevant to their program. Okay. And one thing to take into account here is that this relevance is important at different stages. So like for your bachelor's degree, you need to demonstrate that your bachelor's were relevant to your work experience. And then your work experience is relevant to this master's degree that you're applying to. And then this master's degree is relevant to your future goals. So you see, relevance is not just about your previous degree and this degree. It is about each step of your career. And sometimes it's also possible that uh, your previous degree does not match with this master's degree. So the question is, how do you create relevance then? I would say that you still have a very good chance if you tell them exactly how you came up with this decision of doing a master's, which is not relevant to your bachelor's degree. So for example, in my case, I did psychology, which is not very relevant to international health. It is still relevant, but I still told them the story of how I stumbled upon international or global health from a background of psychology. And you have to do that. You have to explain your transition. If you explain it well, you still have a very good chance, and it's still considered relevant. The second thing I would say is you need to tell them how do you intend to make a pragmatic difference in the world. It could be a very small difference, but there should be a practical, real life difference that you are intending to make after you do this master's program. And you have to tell them how will this master's program will help you in making that difference. And again, even at this point, it's not enough to say that I will change the healthcare system of Pakistan. No, you have to give them concrete examples of how you can do this. So for example, you can talk about research, you can talk about uh, implementation projects, you can give them examples. So for example, you can say that I have identified this problem in Pakistan from my previous work. And if I do this master's degree, I will have this and this skill, which will help me in designing this and this solution. And then I can implement it in this way to solve this problem. And then this is very specific and they really like it. So this tells them that you have a capacity to think about the problems and to identify them, and you have also the capacity to use the resources in order to solve these problems. And this master is a resource for them, and they want you to use it in order to make a real life difference. Yeah, so finally, I would just give you some best practices that I think can have a huge impact on the chances you have for getting a scholarship. First of all, you need to identify the focus of the scholarship. Like we just saw, each scholarship has a different focus. DAAD has a focus on the development of LMICs. Erasmus has a focus on academic achievements and professional excellence. Achieving has a focus on leadership. So for each scholarship, you have to identify the focus and then tailor all of your documents according to that individual scholarship. And this is very important. You cannot use the same LOM for DAAD and Erasmus and Chevening. They should be very different from each other because the focus is very different. It is that simple. Then you should have a very coherent profile. Like I said, it should be relevant at every stage of your career. And if there's something that you think is not very relevant, you need to explain your transition. And then it becomes a very coherent profile. Another thing that's very important is reach out to the alumni of the scholarship that you're applying to. Get some suggestions from them before you start writing your LOM and your references. And once you have your documents, and if they have enough time, get some feedback, because they have been through the process already. They know the things that we do not know because we haven't been through the process. And this can be very helpful in many cases. And again, like I said, even if it's not a requirement, you have to get some work experience. You have to, even if it's an internship, it doesn't matter. You have to get some work experience, because otherwise it is very difficult, because the competition is so huge now. The people are applying from all over the world, and they, if you know anything about, let's say, European countries, most of the students who are working here, most of the students who are studying here, they are also working while they're studying. They have excellent internships. They have very good research experience. They have research assistantships. And then when you compete with them, it becomes very difficult if you don't have any type of work experience and you're a fresh graduate, and then you're just applying for a scholarship with your degree, nothing else. But this is not enough. So you need to get some level of work experience in any way or form. And like I said, your LOM or letter of motivation should not be a replica of your CV, but it should be a story about your past and about your, let's say, future goals, about the reference from the professors or the references from your professional organizations. It is very important to reach out to them early, maybe a month and a half before you intend to apply, and tell them that I want to apply to this scholarship, and I will need your reference in, let's say, 1 month, and I can write it for you if you want. So so that they have it in mind, because sometimes people only reach out their professors a week before the deadline, and then it's not enough time for them to, because people are very busy, and they don't like it if you don't give them enough time. So please keep keep this in mind. This can be very challenging to get these letters from other people. And finally, I would say stay motivated, because this can be a very laborious task. It can be challenging at times. It can be motivating at times when you receive multiple rejections. For my case, I had been applying for 2 years continuously after I got 2 opportunities. Before I got Erasmus and DAAD, I was rejected from 7 different scholarships. But you should not stop. I mean, if your aim is to get a scholarship and you are working on improving your profile in the meanwhile, because when I was applying, I was also working. I was also continuously improving my profile. So for each application, my profile was better than the previous application. And this is the way you should go about it. You will receive rejections maybe 10 times, maybe 5 times. It doesn't matter. The thing is, if you're applying with the same profile again and again, then that's a problem. So even if you're getting rejections, each of your new application should be better than your old one. I mean, that's it. That's the way you do it. So yeah, and this is a very beautiful photo of the city where I live in, which is Heidelberg. I just wanted to show off a little. And yeah, I think this is it from my side, and I would be very happy to answer any specific questions now.
Thank you so much, Zauraiz, for that incredibly informative lecture. and for thoroughly explaining the application process and the factors that go into ultimately for the application committees to decide whether or not they want to award a scholarship. So we do have one or two questions that we can quickly get to. The first one is learning German necessary for these master's scholarships in the country?
No. So it is required to do a language course once you get here, and it is paid also by the government, by the DAAD. So when I got here, I went to another city for 2 months. I did a language course there for 2 months. It was very intensive and very good. And I was fully paid for that as well. And only after that, I started my master's degree. But they do not, my degree and all the other degrees are in English. So you do not require German. But because this is a cultural exchange scholarship, they require you to take this course, which is good, I think.
All right, thank you. And also, what kind of jobs are you looking at when it comes to, the job market after doing a master's in public health or global health? Yeah, like you
So
have.
yeah, there are a lot of options you can choose from. For me personally, I like research and academia, so I'm looking to stay in research and academia. But there can be a lot of different options. So starting from, let's say, if you want to go back to your country, there's a huge opportunities to work in the ministries of health and things like that. But let's say if you want to target the international market, so first of all, there are international organizations that should be your first priority, because let's say WHO and International Committee for Red Cross and a lot of different UN organizations and many national level organizations in Europe and other countries, which is very good because these are this is professional work. This is not like research and academia. This gives you hands-on experience of working in the public health settings. There's a lot of traveling involved. You go to different countries, especially for global and international health, because the focus is low and middle income countries. You have to go there and work there. A lot of people work with UN and then they go to African countries or South Asian countries, which is, I mean, very good experience. In public health, so if you're not talking about global health, but public health, then there's maybe national organizations. For example, in Germany, they have their own public health organizations. In UK, they have a lot of public health organizations. You can work as an epidemiologist, you can work as a data scientist, you can work as a public health manager, you can work as a health economist, you can work as in health policy with the governments. So a lot of opportunities. And finally, there are also some opportunities in private, let's say, companies or private sector. So in Germany, if I say, a lot of people after graduating from public health, they go to pharmaceutical industries, which pay a lot, but I mean, it's a very different sector as compared to academia and let's say public health. So yeah, opportunities are there. It depends on your specialization and the skills that you have, and then you can target different industries.
Right, thank you for answering that question. There is one more. So one of our participants has said that she did research in her first year of dentistry, and it got published in the Journal of Pakistan Medical Association. So she's in third year right now. She's saying, should she reach out to her supervisor for a recommendation letter with regards to her past experience in this project?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so there can be two different things. If she can also get, I mean, an experience letter, like a professional experience letter instead of a reference. It will be saying that she worked as an, let's say, intern or research assistant in this project, which will also be very good because then it will count as experience, work experience.
Okay, thank you for that, because that was going to be my follow-up question. When it comes to work experience, are we only looking at paid work experience, or as an undergrad, we can register our community hours or other activities where voluntary activities as work experience as well?
Yeah, so there are two things. There are voluntary activities which are like, for example, you do some work frequently or periodically. That is not work experience, even because you're not doing it full time, or let's say part time. But for if you're working on a project, research project, even if you're working part time, that can be counted as work experience. So for example, in DAAD, they need 2 years of full-time experience. If you have part-time experience, it will be counted as half. So let's say if you worked 1 year part-time, they will count it as 6 months full-time.
And the final question is for DAAD, do we have to return to our home country for a set duration after the program ends?
No, for DAAD, you don't have to. For Erasmus, you don't have to. For Chevening, for Commonwealth, you do. What else? For Australian awards, I think you also have to come back.
And for
Then,
Fulbright as well.
yeah, for Fulbright, definitely, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and for the very thorough explanation of the application process as well as global health and international health. I really liked how you focused on, making sure that our applications are not only relevant, but they show that we want to make a pragmatic difference as well. We're incredibly, incredibly grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
All
so much
right.
for the invitation. I really enjoyed this session. Yeah. I hope it was
Yeah.
helpful.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of clapping happening, even though you can't hear it. I hope you can see it. All right. Thank you so much, Zauraiz.